Alright, Moana 2 has been out for a week now, so let's talk some spoilers about it. And that is an official spoiler warning. If you haven't seen this movie yet and you're planning on it, best to sail away, cause I will be talking about what happens in this movie. If you have seen it or you don't care, then chee-hoo to you, you're good. So this being a spoiler talk for a Disney animated movie, I gotta touch on the music here, at least with how the movie starts, because I just love that opening music in both movies now. That say ever I mai, that melody. Although I actually like it in this movie more, cause the choir sounds more full, the illetato, like that part. Yeah, it's from the end of the first movie, but they bring it back here for the beginning. Anyway, getting into the story. So Moana 2 begins. Moana is out there wayfinding. She's on this random island when she finds a broken pot or whatever that is, with the design of the island and the people. So she's like, yes, there are other peoples, other tribes out there. I just don't know how to reunite everybody. But now we finally have our first clue. And so she goes back home and we have the song We're Back, which I guess is kind of the equivalent of Some Things Never Change from Frozen 2. It's the Here We All Are Some Years Later and Here's How Things Are Going song. Although I love the fact that this song does feature a bit from We Know the Way, the song from the first movie. Connected with both the land and sea. Yeah, I love that because that's my favorite song from the first movie. And it's also during this song that we meet the people who are eventually going to be part of Moana's crew. We have Kele, who's the old, grumpy, almost retired farmer. We have Moni, who's a historian slash Maui fanboy, which again, I gotta be honest, he actually grew on me as a character, and it was probably because I saw a lot of myself in him. Not gonna lie, if I were chosen to tag along on this adventure, I'd probably act exactly like him. Yeah, he's like me, except not nearly as scrawny.
Pretty cut.
And also we have Lodo, who's a craftswoman who, again, is really fast and quirky. I've always loved characters like this, kind of like Charlie Day and Burn Gorman from Pacific Rim or something, where it's like they're so smart, they're a little crazy. Those kind of characters are always fun to watch for me for some reason. And meanwhile, Maui is out there also trying to search for this lost island. What a coincidence. But he is captured by Matangi, so that'll keep him from reuniting with Moana until at least halfway through the movie. Yeah, Moana and Maui don't reunite until over halfway through the movie. That was one of the things about this movie where I was like, what? Come on. But I'll get to that a bit later. Back with Moana on Motunui, she is given the title Tau Tai, which I guess is pretty much Chief Wayfinder. These people haven't had a Tau Tai in 1,000 years since the last one, Tau Tai Vasa, who we remember from visions in the first movie. And so during this ceremony, that's when Moana gets this vision. She talks to Tau Tai Vasa, which, yeah, I think it was my video on the teaser trailer for this movie actually. I guess that whale shark spirit was that ancestor from the first movie, but that really was just a shot in the dark, but turns out I was right. I'm getting really good at guessing these things. Anyway, I'm proud of myself for that. I also predicted that Elsa would leave Arendelle and Anna would become queen. So either I'm getting really good at guessing these things, or Disney's getting really predictable. Which one is it? Well, I'll leave that for you to decide. Back to the movie, Moana's vision. Vasa tells her to find this island, Motu Fetu. A fire in the sky will lead the way, which not really because it blows up. But what's the deal with this island anyway? Well, Moni breaks it down. We learn that there was this god named Nalo, which is funny. Every time they say his name, I almost think they're saying Nala, like Nala from the Lion King. No, it's Nalo with an O. So Nalo is a dick. He wanted power over all mortals, so he sunk the island of Motu Fetu to the bottom of the ocean. Turns out this island was the one that connected all the peoples of the ocean through ocean currents. It was like the center of everything. So Nalo sunk that island, all the people are separated. And so now we know what we must do. We gotta get a crew together, go back out there, hopefully get Maui back, and restore Motu Fetu. And we have the song Beyond, which I guess is pretty much the equivalent to How Far I'll Go from the first movie. It's the emotional getting ready for the journey, the calm before the storm. And I thought this song was alright. This is also when her grandmother comes back to visit her to give her some words of encouragement. I got nothing bad to say about this song or the scene. I thought it was pretty good. Also, again, I love how it includes a callback to the first movie, because there's a part where she goes, I am Moana. I was like, cool. And you could argue that one of this movie's flaws is that it has maybe a little too many callbacks to the first movie. And of course, you're entitled to that opinion. But in my case, I guess they just didn't bother me for some reason. Like, example, I love the scene where Moana introduces her little sister Samea to the ocean. And yeah, there's an obvious parallel to the scene from the first movie where Moana was that age. Even the same song plays in the score. O mata e matagi, and it goes from there. I thought it was a really sweet scene. And then Moana repeats a line from the first movie, the one her grandmother told her before she died.
There is nowhere I could go that I won't be with you.
There is no way you could go that I won't be with you.
But again, I like that parallel because I was like, oh, she's channeling her grandmother. It's like a passing of the generations. I thought it was really good. She's wiser. That's what it really showed, and I really dug it. And so Moana recruits the crew, Kele, Lodo, and Moni, not to mention the animals, Pua, Heihei, and off they sail on their new adventure. Which then we get to the song What Could Be Better Than This? I love this one, man. I thought it was really funny because Kayleigh's all grumpy. He's like, I don't want to be here. Just get me back to land. While everyone else is just having a good time. They're all dancing. Funniest part was when Kayleigh's looking out from underneath and Moana and Moni are doing like the swimming thing. I cracked up. It was hilarious. And of course, it's also this crew trying to learn how to work together. Loto has her little rap bridge. I thought that was awesome, personally. She's going on about how life is nothing but learning, then failure, then death. Again, I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know. I had a good time with this song. But then we come to the Kakamora. They are back in this movie. And this is interesting, though. We learned that they too had a home island, but they were separated from it by Nalo's curse. So really, they just want to get back home. So this one little Kakamora warrior joins them. Dude is awesome, by the way. I thought he was really cool in the action scenes. He knew how to throw down, kinda. Was not a fan of that blob monster that they had, though. The one with the weird goofy face and the Squidward nose and the goat scream. Yeah, I didn't like that whole thing. A bit too silly and cartoonish for my taste. That's just me. And so they go down into this giant clam, and Moana gets separated from the crew, and this is where we officially meet Matangi, who, like I said, is really awesome when she's in the movie. Again, she's flying around, she's walking upside down, and it turns out that she's not really a villain. She's actually cool. She's just stuck working for Nalo for some reason. Maybe she cut a deal with him, like a Husk and Alistair situation or something. Kids, it's okay if you don't know what that is. Don't worry about it. So Matangi wants Moana to beat Nalo so she can be free. All right, cool. And I'm not gonna lie, we're about halfway through the movie now, and Matangi has my favorite song in the movie, Get Lost. I dug this one, man. Get lost, cut loose, dun dun. Dun, dun. I don't know all the words to all the songs yet because I've not been listening to the soundtrack, I admit. Because I've been listening to nothing but Wicked for the past, year. But anyway, I thought this song was great. It's just a great beat and it's a good message. Is what Barbossa said in Pirates of the Caribbean. Sometimes you gotta get a little lost to find the things that can't be found. Yeah, love that. And so the crew gets back together and we rescue Maui. We all get out of there. So yes, we are now reunited with Maui over halfway through the movie. Although, funny thing about Maui in this movie, like, just how omnipotent is he? There's the part where Moana's like, the gods chose us for a reason. And Maui says, unless it was a butt dial. That would make sense in 2,000 years. I was like, okay, so is he like the genie now or something? Can he see the future? Like, okay, if he can see the future, then that breaks pretty much the entire franchise. I don't want to pull too hard on that thread because that'll really ruin it. It just had me scratching my head for a second. I found it a little weird, strange. And so off they go to where Motu Fatu is. A monster attacks them who looks pretty gnarly, roughs them up pretty bad. Moana gets down in the dumps and now it's up to Maui to cheer her up. And so we have the song, Can I Get a Chee-Hoo? And yeah, you know what? I'll admit, this was the one where I was like, all right, it's not as good as You're Welcome. In my opinion, anyway. It's still fun in its own right for sure, and of course, musical taste is completely subjective. I don't think the song is bad at all. In my personal taste, it's not as memorable as You're Welcome. That's all I'm saying, but it's still got a great message in its lyrics. That's nothing to scoff at. And so now we're at the big climactic fight. Now this is where the movie gets awesome, in my opinion. Because it's all going down, Maui's trying to lift the island, and you see his tattoos actually start disappearing, and I was like, oh my god. Is he like actually gonna lose his demigod status? Seriously? His little tattoo pantomiming friend disappears as well. I was like, man. Which that actually was, if I can sidetrack for a second, that was something I was curious about. Since he got that Moana tattoo at the end of the first movie, I was like, is that one gonna be alive too? Is Maui gonna have like a little Maui and Moana just running around on his chest? Turns out no, that Moana one's not alive. I'm sure the filmmakers discussed that though. And ultimately I'm glad that that one's not alive because that would have been weird. But anyway, yeah, Maui loses his powers. Moana dives deep into the ocean so she can touch the island because that's all that needs to happen for the curse to be lifted. But right when she touches the island, she gets nailed by a lightning bolt from Nalo. And killed. Yeah, just like Elsa in Frozen 2. Our main character is dead for a hot second, and Maui's down there with her on the island at the bottom of the ocean. It's got that bubble thing going on so they have air, kind of like in Justice League with Aquaman and Mera. And Maui starts chanting and the ancestors show up and they start chanting and singing, and they bring Moana back to life. So yay, Moana's alive, and you see this tattoo forming on her arm, and I was like, holy crap, level up indeed. Yeah, Moana is now a demigoddess. Right there, I was like, oh my god, that is awesome. No, seriously, like, what better upgrade is there in life than becoming a demigod? Moana's a demigoddess now. Like, that is one of the coolest things they could have done to that character, in my opinion, to make her even cooler than she already was, and she was already plenty cool. But now that begs the question, like, is she gonna have powers now? We don't really see any powers from her, at least in this movie, but I want to see, because I want to know. And so Motu Fatu is restored, the peoples are reunited, and we have victory! And I love how this movie ends with another reprise of We Know the Way from the first movie. Except this time, it's Moana taking the lead in the song. That's awesome, because Ali Carvalho, she can sing. She's great, and I can't wait to see how far Moana will go as a demigoddess. And then we got our mid-credits scene, which does tease at a future story. I will say one of the fears I had was that it would be like, oh, there's other people out there. They find Arendelle. Frozen crossover incoming. Nah, don't. I'm glad they didn't do that. We see Nalo's true form, and Matangi is there. Nalo's like, we're just getting getting started. So Nalo knows that Matangi is trying to break free from his control, so I'm curious to see what happens with that. And then Tamatoa shows up, the crab from the first movie voiced by Jermaine Clement. So I was like, alright, we got some solid setup for Moana 3, which will probably come out in another 8 years. We have Nalo still around up to no good, but what I would do with it, I thought about this. Moana is now a demigoddess, but she still has her family, her people, her tribe. But since she is now a demigoddess, not only will she probably have some powers, but also some new responsibilities, new duties to the world. So she's probably gonna have to balance that with her family life. That's an interesting route that Moana 3 could take. So I'd love to see that, hopefully sooner than 8 years from now. But for now, in conclusion, Moana 2, again, it is kind of divisive, but I still really enjoy it. And I want to see where the story goes from here. I'm all on board for Moana 3. Let's make this a trilogy. Let's do it. Maybe nothing in this Moana franchise will ever be as good as the first movie, but that doesn't automatically make the other installments terrible. You all know that already, though. Moana's still cool in my book. Alright, so Moana 2, what's your favorite song from the movie? And where do you think the story should go from here? In Moana 3 or whatever else? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!